Stillness, presence, embodiment, wisdom. Welcome to my channel.
Today I'm going to talk about embodied intelligence and also later on how is this linked to the challenges of leadership in today's world. So let's start with this embodied intelligence. Embodied intelligence is really sensory knowing that goes beyond the understanding of something that we already know. So it's like you know something, it's like it's coming from somewhere, but you cannot explain it on an intellectual level. And very often it also goes beyond what you know already, what you read, what you learned, what you studied, what your data is telling you. It's very different way of gathering kind of information. And it's knowing and thinking are two different things. And I think that's very often gets mistaken and pulled together into one pool. So thinking is in your head. Thinking is like when I do that then, or I read this and then I want to get there. So it's like it's somewhere in your head and it's almost like analyzing more. That's the thinking. It's repeating some stories. I would say it's thinking. Knowing is in your body. It's very often connected to what in many Eastern tradition we say a center of the body, so below your navel. In a Japanese tradition it's called hara. There are also names in Sanskrit for that. And knowing is almost like receiving an information, receiving an insight or input from somewhere else. And it's very often based on not on this analytical calculation that you've done in your head. It's based on something else, something that is around us. So it's very physical thing. So that's the difference. And I think it's really important to understand that because in order to get and build your embodied intelligence, you need to work more with your body than with your head. So more thinking doesn't help the knowing. So you have to start sensing what's happening with your body and noticing where you hold, for example, contraction or tension. As long as you're holding this tension and contraction, it's going to be harder to get to the knowing, to connect with maybe your intuition. Some people call it intuition. Some people call it like this unified intelligence or maybe collective wisdom, right? So those are different names. Probably we are talking about the same, but they all have one common denominator, that the knowing will show up and will have some sensory experience. You will have a sensory experience in your body when this shows up, right? Now, there's another challenge to that. One is that many people don't accept that. We need to learn how to receive that, how to accept that, and trust it. And people don't accept that because there is no proof of that. There's no data that shows you, there's no Excel table that shows you that this is right. That's one. Second is that when you were probably younger, you had that clues, you expressed that, and the world around you made you wrong. They didn't like it. So sometimes you got punished because you were not able to express that knowing or to share that in a way that people will understand that, or maybe they were too busy or too, like they were not ready to receive that message. And so you learn not to trust your body. You learn not to trust this knowing. When we are adults, we need to learn how to start trusting the body again and trust this embodied intelligence in us. And so the first step would be to really learn your body, to know what do you embody and what does it mean for you. Because we all have different stories, we all have different bodies, we hold our body differently, and that makes us unique. And that also means that when I sense something in my body, that message that is sent to my brain might be different from your message, because I also have different experiences connected to that sensation. So the same thing might happen, right? Let's say, let's bring an example from life, from work. Let's say in your company, someone says there will be a wave of firing people. So some people are going to lose their job, and many people will react to that very differently, based on how they perceive that, based on what's going on in their body, based what's the body sends to the brain, and the meaning we are making out of it, right? So it's very individual. So once you need to understand your body, which means what are the sensations in any given moment. Let's say, what are the sensations in your body, internal sensation? Where do you hold attention? Where do you hold a contraction, right? Then how do you hold your body, your posture? Are you tall? Are you short? Are you open? Are you narrow? You, like, some parts of you are hiding, some are going to the front. Are you more leaning forward always, backwards? What's the posture? And then what's your emotional state in that moment? And the qualities of your thoughts in that moment. When you bring these sensations, physical sensations, emotional experience, and qualities of your thoughts, you will learn the patterns of your body, and you will learn that when I'm like that, I'm actually not really centered. Most likely when you have attention to something, I'm not at my center, which means like I am making meanings of things that maybe are not helpful. Maybe it's just my experience telling me that what is happening is really bad or is scary, but in reality it might not be, right? So you need to learn how to find your center. And the center, before I was doing centering practice, but just to like give you a short reminder, it's really like centering in your length. So making sure like your head is above your shoulders, shoulders above your hips. When you stand, hips above your knees, knees above your ankles, right? And expanding, not in a way that you're like pulling your shoulders. Shoulders are going down, but maybe you expand a little bit in a space between your ribs and between your bones. And imagine like your skeleton is holds your body. So your muscles, everything else is loose, right? And you find the center here in this length and the dignity. And then you go to the sides and you center in the width, which means you kind of include everything that you want that is right from you and from the left. And just noticing even the voices, smells, colors. What do you want to include here? Where do you want to be? More here, here? Find your center. And then you go back and front. Back, imagine, is everything that holds you so far in this life, that supported you, your teachers, your parents, friends. Front is the future, right? Find the center between those. Once you have it, land with your mind, with your body in the center. And from that place of the center, see how you see the world right now. So the more you're centered, the more you are like that, the more you're able to receive this knowing. and even accept it. Because in that space where you are right now, you most likely feel safe. And feeling safe is something physical. So you feel safe physically, so you can accept the knowing also, right? So that also helps with decisions, because when you're more centered, suddenly you send a message to your brain, everything is okay, I'm not in a danger, even if you are not in a physical danger. But when you are dysregulated, the message is there is a danger. But here, you don't have to fight for anything, you're fine. Let's stay here, right? Let's now, from this place, when you are centered, you're regulated, you see things differently, more likely this embodied intelligence will show up and you will feel it somewhere in your body, right? More likely you are able to trust it now because you are centered, you feel safe. So that's one way to connect kind of with your body and with this intelligence, and start doing it even when you go for a walk. Like, start noticing what's around you rather than being in your head all the time. Start noticing what's going on with my body. The embodied intelligence shows up when we actually are more regulated, when we use our body. So anything that helps you get in the center, yoga, mindfulness, martial arts, any type of sports or activities that are really paying attention whether you are centered or not, and you can be mindful while doing them, will help you be more in your body and will be beneficial to, like, coming closer to feeling this embodied intelligence and taking it and using it. We just did this short centering practice, and how to actually bring this sense of centering, regulation in your daily life. I think this is really where we can connect, right? Practicing with the real life and what's happening. When you're in a meeting, when you're under stress, life happens and so on. So one is to really practice this daily as many times as possible, so your body learns how to be centered. So it's almost like, this regulated state, when we are in a state that is not necessarily embodying our full potential, our centered state, is really a strong muscle. So we need to build another muscle, which is like being in a regulated state. That means practice, practice, practice. Practice when you don't need this. Practice 5-10 times a day. Mindfully. Take 1 minute. It doesn't have to be long, but practice this. So when you need this, in times of when you need that, it's easier to reach to that. And in times when you need that, let's say, and you cannot take 1 minute to do that, but you can also notice, because we have, all of us has kind of predominant ways of reaction, right? Some people will be always in front. So maybe if you are this person, you just lean back a little bit, right? You notice, like, okay, am I staying here in my line of dignity? If you're one that is not being noticeable, and I have a client that is working on this, like, he makes himself small when he talks about his business. So people don't take him seriously. So what we are practicing is the line of dignity, being straight, shoulders down, relax, and staying here, right? So you don't even have to do the whole centering, especially when you don't have time, but simply noticing, am I like that? Am I slouched or am I tall? And being tall, feet firmly on the ground. That always helps. Feet firmly on the ground, 4 points, like on the heels and close to the toes. Firmly, tall, I am in my dignity. right? If you're a person that you're out of balance in terms of like you don't hold the boundaries, so you allow everyone and everything come too close, and then you are distracted, and then you cannot source from embodied intelligence because you are fighting for your space, for your for you being. You probably need to imaginarily do this right to life centering and expand your boundaries and say, okay, what do you include right now, what you don't include, right? So that's that. Like for you, maybe it's like, I am wide, my shoulders are wide open, I'm open, and my boundaries are far, and no one can cross my boundaries. You don't have to do this, you can just feel it in your shoulders. No one crosses my boundaries unless I let them in, right? If you are a person that never feels like I have to do everything myself in my life, and I have to always lead, so I don't have time to actually connect with my body and allow this knowing to come because I'm always in front and I'm doing, you need to maybe rely on your back, right? Just step back and on your knowledge. Like imagine someone is touching you and holding your back, and you can relax here. You are more straight. Like, I know I have people behind me, I have my experience, I have all my teachers, my parents, all the generations that were behind me. So that are the shorter versions. And remember, always just take a breath and let it go down through your body, through your feet to the ground a few times. That will also bring you to the center much faster. If you want to learn how to connect that and bring it more now to your leadership, subscribe and watch the next video.